Hello, friends. So today I am making dog treats. And you may hear T is on a warpath today. He is just yelling. So if he yells, I apologize. But I'm making dog treats, and it happens to be in bulk. And so today I decided that I would try something a little bit new with my dog treats. Normally I don't add rosemary, but today I'm going to add rosemary, and it's a really simple, like just super simple recipe, and so I wanted to share it with you guys because it's really, really great for dogs with sensitive tummies. So here we go. Let's do it. All right. Oh, there they are. That's them. I have dogs. I can prove it. He's right. All right, so we're going to look down here. So what we've got, I've got this little farmer's bowl, and then I've taken some rosemary from my garden, and that I've kind of cut up into small pieces. I may cut it up just a little bit smaller, but it's fresh. It's going to give a really great fragrance, and I think a pretty savory flavor to these dog treats. If you use canned pumpkin like Libby's or something that's food grade for, humans, I would imagine I could probably eat the pumpkin that I bought, but really, like, with the things that you put in these, you technically could eat them. But, that's all I'm saying is if you wanted to try and see how savory they are, depending on how much rosemary you use, you could do that. But I figure maybe, that's probably about a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half. And so what I've got here is I actually used to do another pumpkin that I really liked a lot. And I think they've discontinued it. So I'm trying this new kind today. It's a Fruitables digestive supplement. So I'm super excited to see how how the dogs react to that change. But I put it on their food a couple of times in the last couple of days, and they haven't had a problem at all. The next thing that I have is in this container are just old-fashioned Quaker oats inside of a Ninja. So it's I just make my own oat flour. So it's going to be just a little bit loud for a second. So all this is oats, and then I added just a little bit of cinnamon in there. So really you can do it as thin or as chunky as you want. I like to have a little bit of texture in there, and so it's got some powder and some little pieces of oats. So what we're going to do is really you can just start putting things in whenever. I didn't measure this. And really, like, I don't measure it usually. It goes by feel. Because you really just want, like, a nice little bulb that goes together. I found it's definitely, you can start with 1.5 cups of each of these and then add more wheat flour. Definitely whole wheat flour. Add more whole wheat flour if it's too wet. So I'd say at least 1.5 cups of each, and then just add more wheat flour. So I'm going to add some wheat flour in here. And then, if it gets too dry, add some more coconut oil. It's really just that simple. It's a really, really easy recipe. So I used to just do a partial can of this, and then I found out that, sometimes there was waste, and I didn't like that. Now I've been putting this on my dog's food, so really there won't be any waste. But you can use a full can. And then this is coconut oil. And really what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour some in. I'd start with about 1/2 cup. I put this in the microwave, so it's nice and liquidy. That helps us be able to get the texture that we're looking for. And then I'm just gonna drop this in. So here's what we got. Really that should be it. At a time, you can start doing this with your hands. It might be just a little bit easier, but some people don't like digging in like that. So I'm just gonna go through, and it does smell great. The cinnamon specifically that I had put in the oats just gives it a nice like baking fragrance. When you've got them in the oven, they smell delectable. And even right now, just pumpkin and cinnamon, boy, they are just such great friends. So we're actually looking pretty good. I left a little bit of this pumpkin in the can, so I'm gonna add a little bit more of that, but I may add just a little bit more coconut oil too, but you definitely don't want it to be too wet, because then it makes it a little bit more difficult to cut out into shapes, which is something that I will do after it's sat for a little bit. I realized, so if you take this right now as it is, and you decide that, you know, you don't have the time of day, you don't have the time of day to put this in the fridge and wait around for a little while, you can really just, you can just, you know, knead it up just a tiny bit and then cut them out, you know. It'll be just a little bit sticky, but it works. Now, the longer that you knead this, and this is something you learn from like baking shows and things, the longer you knead this, the crunchier and like harder these cookies are going to be. Also, the longer you leave them in the fridge. So that's just about, you know, kneading, building up gluten, because there is gluten in this flour, and then and like proving, right? It would be like a cold prove if you leave it in the fridge for a little while. So if you want really nice and kind of softer cookies, then you would cut them up right now. You know, get it to about right here. Maybe just add a little bit more flour. Stop it. You would stop kneading it. You would get it to about right here, and then just make sure that you put generous coats of flour in and around this. Cut it up in cookie cutters. I spend a little extra time. I use cookie cutters, and for in bulk, I've decided on a few shapes. I've decided on this little house. These are just kind of natural shapes, little biscuit cutters, and then I've decided on a flower, and then this tiny little bird, which I think is super cute. So those are my in bulk cookie cutters that I'm going to use. But yeah, so you would cut them out, put them on a tray, put it in the oven at 350 degrees, and cook them not quite as long. I cook mine a little bit longer so that they will be crispy, because my dogs have just like the biggest teeth and chompers, and they love chewing and crunching on things. So I would say probably 20 minutes. And they'll come out and they'll have a nice like soft break to them. But since I like mine a little bit harder, I will knead it for a little bit. I'll put it in the fridge for at least a half an hour, and that does make it easier to roll out. And then I will put it in the oven for probably 35 minutes, making sure that they don't get too dark. But if they get dark, like, the dogs don't really mind. They don't care if they're a little burned. So, but yeah, you just kind of watch them. Now, if you don't want to do cookie cutters, And this can just be part of my kneading process right now, just to show you. Whoop, bird. Roll it into a log. See, there you go. See, this is just right where you want it, because you can kind of do whatever you really want to it. And if, like, let's say, if you wanted really big treats, you could leave it like this. But let's break it up just a little bit. We'll make it just a little bit thinner. Like this. Now this is definitely not perfect, but you just make it into a log like that. And then, you know, you take a sharp knife and you would just cut it like that into little rows. And once again, this would be a little bit easier if it was cold, but like that in itself is a pretty decent little dog treat. You don't have to do anything else to it. You really just, you know, you put it on a cookie sheet and bake it like that. You can flatten it out if you want it a little bit thinner. Just have these nice little medallions. Some people that I see on like Pinterest and things, they will have ones like this, and then they'll just put like a little design in the center if they really wanted a design in them or something like that. But that's an easy way to do it, you know. So I'm gonna take this, and I might knead it up just a little bit more, but I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put it back inside of that bowl, put some cling film over top of it, let it sit for a half an hour while I'm making my zucchini bread for, you know, the human parts of our family. And then I'm going to cut these out later. And like I said, 350 degrees for anywhere between 20 and 35 minutes, I would say, depending on how crispy you want them. And, you know, that's that. That's that. And like I said, these ones are rosemary. I'm hoping that that's going to help with some of their digestion issues, especially teas. And, you know, maybe it'll taste good too. That would be so good. I actually have some that are already done. If you'll let me take a tiny little walk here. And I would imagine that the dogs will probably come running because they know that when I get into their cookie jar, which is a little hippo, they're hungry hippos, then there are treats. And these are ones that I made around Christmas. And there's, you know, star trees. There's a little stocking there. And oh, here they come. Yeah. So I will give them to them. Come here, Bella. I mean, if that isn't a selling point, come here, T. Come over here. Yeah, there we go. On T. So, you know, they are, my dogs sign off on these, basically, is all I'm saying. So, if you have any questions, let me know. I hope that this video was helpful to you, and really that it just shows you that this is just super easy. Like this thing is, you know, like 13 minutes long, but it's because I've been talking. And really, if you wanted to make the easiest dog treats and not cut them out, like I said, it's also, it would be a fun thing to do with kids. You know, like if you didn't really you wanted to make cookies, but you didn't want to make cookies that, you know, your kid would eat. You can also do this, you know. It's just terribly easy. As long as you get them kind of flat like a cracker and you put them in the oven, then they're done. So a good way to get your hands dirty, an excellent way to, you know, treat your furry friends. And yeah, I love you guys. Happy eating. We'll see you next time.